Welcome to Wander Paws Down Under. I'm Dan,
I'm Anita.
and together we're travelling around Australia with our dog Wally, our cat Paprika, our off-road caravan, and our trusty turtle Hilux.
And we're here to bring you some pet travelling tips on the road. And this time we're on the way to Coral Bay.
Coral Bay. So how was your stay in Coral Bay?
A fantastic stay in Coral Bay.
So in this episode we're going to bring you all of the lovely sights and sounds that we visited around the Coral Bay region, including pet-friendly camping, where we went as part of day trips, where we stayed nearby, where we camped roadside, not that exciting, but sometimes a necessary part of the journey, and also the areas where we found a few challenges, because I think, we'll be honest, it's not the most pet-friendly place that we've visited thus far in Australia.
Definitely not. Having, Ningaloo Reef region really kind of upon us. It is protected areas, so there are a little bit more restrictions around. So, where do we start?
Where do we start? Well, let's start with where Coral Bay. So Coral Bay is about 1,120 kilometres north of Perth, so definitely not day trip material from the Big Smoke. But if you're travelling from the north, it's actually over 1,300 k's from Broome itself. So it's kind of a pretty remote part of the world, I must admit. But therein lies some of its appeal. You don't really get the crowds that you see a lot on the East Coast. That's not to say it wasn't busy when we were there.
Still busy, yeah.
But way less people than the East Coast, which is one of the big appeals for me.
And it's definitely a holiday destination. There are flights into the nearby city of Exmouth. City is an overstatement, but town of Exmouth. So it's definitely a holiday tourist destination. So we did notice a bit of a different type of person that was in these regions as well. But obviously being very remote, it isn't as dog friendly as some of the places that we had been to. But I guess, where could we start? Where did we stay? What did we do?
Yeah, so we initially started at a roadside stop because we were coming from the Quabba region, which was about a 3.5 hour drive once you include stops. So we decided not to stay in the Coral Bay Caravan Park for two reasons. One, the cost is very prohibitive. Actually, three reasons. Two, the place was absolutely jam-packed, like proper sardine material. When we got there, we were like, oh my God, this is not holiday vibes at all.
Yeah.
But the third reason is there just wasn't any availability because it's such a popular part of the world, especially going in winter, which is the peak season. You couldn't even get a booking even if you tried.
Yeah, and we did call up, sometimes hoping someone might have, stopped their booking or, not shown up. And literally every time we called them, there was no availability. So it is a very much you have to plan your trip kind of place. But it does, it's worth it, really.
Yeah, and I think it's only if you want to stay in Coral Bay itself in the thick of it that you need to do that planning. We travel, in a different way. We sort of wing it, and where we feel like going over the next few days or next week, we'll just take off and go. So it didn't really work for us to pre-plan much. But that being said, it is definitely possible. So this roadside stop where we stopped was just on the side of the highway. It was a little bit off the road, so the traffic... It is free. The traffic wasn't too bad. It's called Fubbies or Fubbies Retreats. I've just popped up a link to Wikicamps. Look, picnics, shelter, toilets, it's got the basics, it's got what you need.
And it is also busy itself because it's the only free camp really in the whole region up to Exmouth, I think.
Yeah, so the only sort of proper one.
Yeah. The good thing about this particular free camp, though, it is close to Coral Bay. Like, how far was the drive?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, it's free near Coral Bay, which is a, Ningaloo Reef region destination. So it's definitely still pretty good to have. I thought it was all right, to be honest.
Yeah, and look, if you are struggling to find accommodation all between sort of Coral Bay and Exmouth and you want to do it for free, like we'll get into some of the paid camps where we stayed later in this episode, but if you do want to do it for free, we've got a little hack for you.
There is some sneaky ways.
There's a sneaky way. So Fubbies Retreat is like a proper roadside stop where it's sanctioned by the WA government as a rest stop where you can stay for 24 hours. And all along that road, that main road between Coral Bay and Exmouth on the bitumen, maybe every 30 kilometres, there is a roadside pull-out, so a rest stop. And these are proper rest stops. They're on the Western Australian government website. There's no funny business there. Yeah. And in pretty much all of them, it doesn't say no camping.
That's true.
So if it doesn't say no camping, you can camp.
Yeah, honestly, the road noise and all of that kind of stuff, they've not made it comfortable for people to stay. But if you are really restricted with budget, there is always the option of just having a little sneaky sleep on the side of the road. But they are designated rest stops on the website, so and it is actually above board.
Yeah, it's above board, and it's a particular issue as you get closer to Exmouth, because in Exmouth you only have a few caravan parks which take pets. Good luck getting a booking even months in advance. It's crazy. There is another option where it's a council run so-called campground, but it's basically just an oval where you pay like 60 or 65 bucks a night and you get nothing. 60. So if you're not interested in paying extortionate fees for a council that doesn't really want to promote any free camping, this is the way to go, guys. It's above board. We didn't get moved on once by any rangers, wasn't even visited by anyone. It's not glamorous, but it is possible.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about Exmouth and what we did there in the next episode. But in this episode, I guess, Coral Bay pet-friendly activities. I mean, there were some things you could do, and there were some places you can stay. So, yes, you can bring your dog to Coral Bay. I think maybe one of the caravan parks was dog-friendly.
Yeah, the Bayview, the Coral Bay Bayview.
So look, if you do plan your trip a little bit better than we did, to be honest, because we were just rocking up, you might be okay to get a space there. It is right near the beach. The beach, depending on the particular part of the beach, is dog-friendly on one side. On the other, it is protected reef region, so no dogs allowed.
And the one that you can get to with the dog, it's called Paradise Beach.
And it is Paradise Beach. It's
beautiful. It is paradise, but it is a bit of a mission to get to. So we've marked it on the map that you can see on the screen here. There's basically two ways to get there. One is if it's low tide, you can just walk around the cliffs and then you'll get to Paradise Beach. It's about a 10-minute walk from the car park where the road ends. The way that we took, because the tide was a little bit higher, was actually over a big sand dune.
It's a bit of a thunderfly workout.
Yeah, it was quite a mission. And there are roos around, so Wally was extremely excited by that.
See his kangaroo. That was really exciting for him. I think it was a little red kangaroo too, so he was pretty excited by that.
Definitely. But look, it is absolutely worth that climb up and down that dune, because once you get around that dune,
it's beautiful.
Beautiful, huge beach. I don't recall seeing too much coral close to the shore. I think it was a little bit further out, so you may need fins if you want to explore the coral. But it is nice.
I think it was quite shallow, wasn't it? Like if you walk out, so it's very, very shallow. So for doggies that might not like, big waves and stuff, it's actually perfect because it is a little bit of a splishy, splashy kind of pooly place. And then I think it kind of just drops off, right? And then there's a bit of coral out there. But it just, again, will depend on the tide in and out. As to how deep it is, but it is a good beach for your doggies because they can literally just splish splash around, and it was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd say it's even better than a good beach. It was stunning.
Yeah,
I mean, that really white silica sand. This is our first proper time in the Ningaloo region, so we were so excited to be there. The weather was fantastic. The sun was shining.
And we actually managed to be at the beach when it was quiet. It was actually quiet, so it was nice.
Yeah, and look, in terms of other dog-friendly places where you can take your dog or your cat near Coral Bay, there's not really many other than Paradise Beach. There is a place called Pelican Point, which is about half an hour south of Coral Bay. The rating isn't super high on Google. We didn't end up going there, but it is possible. It's a designated dog beach.
But don't fret. There is a couple of nice little cafes in town that let you park your doggy outside. We even went to the pub, I think. Which pub was that?
We'll pop the name up. I don't remember.
I can't remember. But it's actually at the front of one of the caravan parks, I'm pretty sure. And they literally just have like a beautiful little outside garden area where you can have the dog. Wally got heaps of attention. We were able to have some nice drinks and have some dinner.
Yeah.
So, look, you can do things with pups. It's just, a little bit more. If you do want to go out and do day tours, like Coral Bay is well known for manta ray tours, snorkelling tours. So if you do want to go out and do those things, you might have to have a look at how you're going to handle the pooch because it is warmer in these parts of Australia. So if you're out for a full day, you might need to look into the pet sitting, which you can get some names from the visitor centre.
Yep. Yeah, good tip.
Yeah.
And also in Coral Bay, it's a good place to stock up on fuel. It's the cheapest fuel in the surrounding area, or the only fuel in the surrounding area. There is also water fill-up points if you are free camping, but it is paid from memory, so there's just a nominal cost there. But look, otherwise, we just use it as a day trip, and then we're on our way to Fubbies or Fubbies.
Yeah, but do be careful because like the residents of these areas are very particular about people camping.
Yeah.
And there has been a lot of like backpackers that have camped on the streets and stuff, and they have been moved on and maybe even fined. So look, just use your wisdom and don't be too silly. But we did spend a lot of the time of the day in town,
Yep.
and it was okay because obviously you can have your caravan in town. They've got plenty of car parks for the caravan.
Yep.
I think we even pulled up right
in front of the caravan park.
Yeah, right in front of the caravan park, and we literally were able to go swimming, snorkeling. We hopped back in. We were able to have lunch in our caravan, do all of our stuff, and then go back to the free camp. So look, you just got to kind of plan your day around that.
Should we talk about the awesome paid campsite that we went to?
Yeah, there's some beautiful places around.
Yeah. So, what was it? About 40 minutes north of Coral Bay, there is a place called Bruboodjoo. Bruboodjoo.
Bruboodjoo.
Bruboodjoo. Man, we really stuffed that one up. I stuffed that one up.
Yeah.
Bruboodjoo. So, it's an Indigenous-owned campsite. It's pretty low cost. The cost obviously changes from time to time, but we found it to be very reasonable, particularly compared to Coral Bay, and I'm not even talking about Exmouth.
Yeah.
And there's 3 ways of getting in there. So you can either go along the coast from Coral Bay. Definitely do not recommend you take that road, or even from the north, from along the coast from like the Ningaloo region. That coastal road is heavily corrugated.
Oh gosh, and we'll talk
huge
about
ruts,
that more.
salt flats, rocky outcrops, washouts. Probably the worst road we've had in all of our 30,000 Ks around Australia.
And look,
back.
for this campsite, you don't have to use it. So
do not use it.
It's definitely better to go on the bitumen. I mean, you will still have to go on mild, corrugated road, but vans can actually stay at this campsite. So keep this one in mind, because a lot of the other campsites that are on the coast towards Exmouth, you will not be able to get your van into. But this particular campsite, keep it in mind. For one, it's the cheapest, and for two, you can get a van in. Make sure you take the bitumen, and then there is a little bit of
It's a 10-minute access road that you can take.
And you do have to take it slowly, even with your vehicles, but just make sure.
And that access road that you take from the bitumen road, you don't need to drop tyre pressures, so we ran highway pressures,
okay,
no problem at all. Just take it slow. Like Anita said, normal vans as well as off-road vans were there and without a problem.
Yeah, non-off-road caravans were there as well. We even saw some crazy coaches and different things there.
Yeah. Look, all sorts of interesting rigs there.
This is definitely one you have to keep in mind if you do have a different vehicle other than an off-road van or an off-road car.
Yep. And there's no facilities there, so there's no toilets, no showers. You have to BYO everything. So it's Australian bush camping, bush coastal camping at its finest. But I'll be honest, it was a pretty nice site. I mean, you've got different. Firstly a huge area. So
Massive.
You've got sites where you can stay back from the dunes, you can stay on the dunes, you can stay pretty much on the beach as well if you choose.
Yeah.
It's a really nice place.
Look, the beach is beautiful. It's not the nicest in the region, but it's still very nice. We were able to swim. It's not amazing swimming, it's not, no body surfing, no snorkeling really in that area.
It's more for fishing. Yeah,
but you can see through the water, so you're not worried about anything. It's very pretty. And we were able to take Wally off leash, I think, on those walks from the campsite where we had camped literally just behind the beach, which, by the way, is a tip. This region is very windy. If you want to have some sort of happiness, do stay a little bit back from the beach because it is very windy. If you've got a setup where it doesn't bother you, that's great.
Yep.
But you can walk the whole length of the beach all the way down to the boat launching area and back. Perfect walk for the dog. There's lots of doggies in this area. People are launching boats though, and people are fishing, so you do have a couple of little hazards to look out for. But other than that, it was pretty good for a dog-friendly place. Yeah,
and big bonus, no 1080 baiting in the area, which becomes more of an issue as you get up to different parts of the peninsula, up the Ningaloo coast. But we found it fantastic. We stayed longer than we originally anticipated, and it's also great to support an Indigenous business.
Yep. We also love just it has got a lot of sites, this place, but you did sort of have enough space to set up we were able to set up our space with a bit of yoga and do some exercise, and it just was a little bit bigger than the caravan parks in town. and you're in nature, like right in it.
Yeah.
So
you're allowed fires as well. Obviously, you've
Yeah.
got to bring your own firewood because there's not many trees around. And
Yeah.
our pick of the place was a park called the Swamp. So that's where we stayed. I've popped up a map of where our campsite was. They're hard to get, those campsites, but if you can get them, that's prime position because it's behind a dune and the beach is right there over that dune.
And you can just rock up.
You can just rock up.
You can book online, but this particular campsite, they suggest you just come and rock up. And
I think it was even cheaper with cash as well.
Yeah, and you can kind of choose your spot first and then go up to the caretaker and pay them. So it's good.
Yeah. What we also loved about this site was there was a few other areas around where you could go. You couldn't take the dog, but if you are okay to leave your dog or your cat inside your caravan for a small period of time, our pick of the bunch was Oyster Bridge.
Yeah.
So
do we need an off-road
you
vehicle?
do, yep. So to get to Oyster Bridge, it's only 15 minutes from this campground along that lovely coastal corrugated road I told you about before. But as you veer off that coastal corrugated road, you basically have to go over sand dunes. So at that stage,
we did let the tyres down.
we did drop the tyre pressure to 20 psi, and then we did a bit of dune hopping.
Wasn't it gorgeous?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Is that where you
white sand.
snorkeled?
Yeah. So not only did I snorkel there, but I was actually trying out a new fashion line. So as you can see on the screen,
Daniel has a habit of stealing my clothes from time to time, and I won't tell you which ones, but
only for festivals, only for music festivals, when I need something particularly flamboyant. But look, in this case, the sun was beating down, so I needed a bit of a rashy top. I didn't want to get burnt.
We took turns with the rashy.
So we took turns. I sampled the new fashion line. It looked fantastic. Let me know what you thought in the comments, by the way. I'd love to hear your opinions, or not. If you don't have anything good to say, as my mother would say, don't say it.
I think that rashy doesn't even fit me anymore now. I've got too big of muscles. So.
That being said, look, once you turn up to Oyster Bridge, you go over this
beautiful.
dune and you can see this whole peninsula open up in front of you. Beautiful turquoise
Nice
water. You can see a nice protected lagoon, which is where the bridge is. So it's just a natural rock bridge and it's got a heap of oysters growing on it. So you can swim on the inner side of the lagoon if you want to be protected from the waves. Beautiful little fishies, corals. It can be a little bit...
I think it gets a bit nasty with the tide,
currents,
right?
the currents can be a little bit intense, but if you have flippers...
And in the little cove area, it's okay because you're kind of protected by the rocks, and the rock formations are actually quite beautiful as well.
At low tide, you can also walk along the rock and have a look sort of from above. We have heard of people swimming on the either side of the rock, so the open ocean side, because apparently there are a few sharkies that live there. We personally didn't go that far. Wasn't our cup of tea, and the tide was a little bit hectic that day.
There is a resident turtle that lives there too, we've been told. We didn't see him that day, but we've been told he's there.
Yeah, so look, other than that, there are a few other coves and areas you can explore without the dog because it is a national park. Well worth a visit. Definitely a highlight of our Coral Bay trip.
For sure, yeah.
And then
another
we decided
little inland journey.
Yeah, go to the next journey.
The next journey, like on the way to Exmouth, and another great stop. It's kind of in between Coral Bay and Exmouth, but inland.
It's about an hour south of Exmouth.
Yeah, and you might have seen our latest episode and know how much we love a good station stay. So Bullara Station, especially for people with kids, it is going to top your list. Pretty much every single family that we met that stayed there reckons it was their favourite place to take the kids. So if you have kids, please put it on your list. If you have a doggo, dogs are welcome.
If you love cows, you'll love it. Being a cattle station.
If you have a cat, the cat...
Cat didn't really give a hoot.
Right. He didn't care too much about where he was at this point. But yeah, look, this is a great stay. Bullara Station is a station, so you have lots of wildlife. So you make sure if you have a reactive dog, maybe it's not the place for you. If you don't, if you have a doggo who loves, meeting new species, then this is the place for you. But let's put all of that aside. It is an amazing stay because it has culture, it has cafes, it has delicious scones, meat pies, croissant. It
had a goat. Wally's first goat meat. As in, he didn't eat the goat meat. He met a
God.
goat. The goat meet the dog. The dog meet the goat.
There was a goat on the side, yes, and Wally got to meet a goat for the first time. You can buy Bullara beef on site, which is amazing.
A good one.
Wednesday night is burger night. Friday night, maybe Friday night is burger night. Wednesday night is pizza night. I don't know, but they have all of these cool little activities going on.
Live entertainment. I
saw yoga classes from one of the backpackers who's working there advertised. It's just beautiful.
Place to
There's
be.
accommodation, there's places for caravans, the toilets and facilities are top notch, brand new, and the cafe, again, it's really well known. So it's a good spot. It's a beautiful spot. It's a nice place to base yourself. It is very hard to get a booking.
Yep.
It is around the $65 mark. So it's a little bit more expensive, but if this is like your holiday away, I think it's worth it. And it sounds like everybody that has stayed there has loved it. We especially loved it. We really loved the meat.
Yeah, the meat was fantastic.
Sorry for anyone who might be vegetarian or vegan watching, but the Bullara Station meat was the best meat we've had on this trip. We don't eat a lot of meat, but when we do, when you know it's coming from a source that is locally, literally locally sourced.
And they're all free-range cows. There's no factory farming in this part of the world, so the cows are well looked after. They're happy cows until,
Daniel, anyway. But yeah, even the backpackers that we've met along our journey further on in our trip absolutely loved working at Bullara Station. So it just seems like a really great place. It is a really great place in our experience.
Yep.
So,
and definitely a place where you can stay if you do want to visit and do day trips to Exmouth. It's totally doable being an hour south.
Absolutely.
No issue.
And you're going to find other people with dogs and children there as well. So like you might be able to do that exchange with the dogs and, we didn't use that option at this point, but it might be a good option for you if you are going to go out on a day trip to exchange with another person who's staying at Bullara and be able to do that, on your own and then do the same for them.
Great introduction to this beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, and there's
Loved
plenty
every
more
moment.
to come. There's plenty more to come.
Look out for our episode next, which is going to be around the ex-Ningaloo Station and all that beautiful off-grid camping all along the coast, and Exmouth, the crown and the jewel.
We had to separate it because it's just so much beauty to talk about in this region, and we can't wait to share.
Absolutely.
So please like and subscribe if you want to see our next episode.
Yep. Let us know what you thought in the comments. We'd love to hear your feedback. And also if you'd like us to talk about anything else, any other pet traveling tips.
Or any suggestions, like something that you might be, wanting to know that we haven't thought of. So please, see you soon.
See you soon. Bye for now.
I think I act like a matter in that. What is drenched?
We just sweat on every episode.
Like outside. I'm not a fan of being
Where's
hot
the
all
sweat?
the time.
Where's the sweat?
I got a mustache. You've got a wet nose.